Welcome to the BOP, the BLERD official podcast. We are so happy you are here. We are back. We are just super happy to see all of you. We have missed you. We have been so busy. We've literally been traveling the globe and doing all kinds of things, doing all the things, and we have recovered from our Comic-Con adventures. It has been a whirlwind. Oh my God, let me introduce my co-host. Both of them are looking fab today. Hilton, where are you? Are you like, what? I mean, you're in a whole new location. Hilton George is in the house.
I'm above ground. I'm actually right outside my kitchen. I've got a new arrival here in the house, so she'll make herself known at some point.
Oh my gosh, the puppy is here. What is her name again? What is her name?
Nala, like the Lion King.
I love it. Nala, Karan Ashley, George. I love it. You're so sweet.
She is so determined. She is so determined.
I want all dogs, all babies named after me. I mean, come on.
Look, y'all gonna see her. She's gonna come right behind here as soon as she's done eating, and then y'all It's gonna be
we gotta see her.
We can't wait to meet her.
Glory.
Yeah, we cannot wait to meet her. I know the fans of the BOP can't wait to meet the newest bopper.
Baby Bop.
Baby Bop, Christi Renee, how you doing? How is life? Look at you looking cute with your braids.
Oh, you know, they barely holding on, but they're here. It's time for a redo.
Hanging on by a thread.
Every time I do this, you know, there's two things I suffer most through is once I get halfway started and I think, what the hell was I thinking?
Why did I do this?
Why did I do this? And then when it's a month in, I'm like, yeah, I'm tired of this and I got to take it down. And then I don't want to take it down. So I'll just put on wrap. I put on head wraps to play it off. So but I'm good. I'm happy.
It works for you.
Thank you. You know,
it does. It works for you.
I make it do what it do. You
know? Look like Josie Harris from the 90s years. I know only a few people remember Josie. Like
no, I do.
Leave it to Hilton to mess it up. Yeah, that's great. It's great.
She doesn't like that comparison. I don't know why.
It's okay. I don't know. That's fine.
Well, guys, we are so happy you're back. Me and Christi were recently in Seattle, and we had a time. We saw so many people. I know Hilton George was just at AwesomeCon in DC. I was just in Louisiana and Lafayette Comic-Con. It has been nonstop Comic-Conning. Like we have all been going nonstop. It has been amazing, but also it's so tiring. Like it is like I got home. It's like I got home and I had 2 days and then I was off to another one. It's just crazy. But it's that time of year. It's like we're having the time, like I almost say, if you do something you love, it's definitely not work. Like we have so much fun. We've just been, I mean, how was AwesomeCon? That is literally one of my favorite shows. I got to make sure I go next year. I was booked already. And so but how was it? How I love that show.
It was a great show. This year they were the first weekend in March, or second weekend in March, and only such because it's an election year and they're normally in June. So school was in session and there was a lot going on, and it was like a real like crowd and everything. They had tons of guests. I don't know how they fit all those guests in there, but it was a good 3-day weekend. And BLERDCon goes in to promote the convention and reconnect with the community and just have some fun. So we bring our DJs and video games and try to create that little microcosm of the BLERDCon experience.
I've seen it and it's amazing.
Oh yeah. And the weather cooperated for the most part, so it wasn't too bad.
Good. Yeah, no, it was we were in Seattle. It started snowing, it was cold, it was like 40 degrees.
It was a lot.
It was raining most of the time. We were like, what the heck is happening? But it was great. No, last weekend literally.
And then the day we left, remember the sun was shining so bright.
Sunshine. It was like
really.
We left the sun. We were like, really? Like we literally walked in the rain all weekend. You know what's so funny is last weekend there were more Comic-Cons all on the same weekend. Like it was like how many shows can you have on the same weekend? Like I was literally invited to 3 different shows, but I had already committed to Lafayette, Louisiana Comic-Con. So it was like, how many shows can we have in one weekend? Like literally everybody was doing a show, but it sounds like everybody did great. Everybody had fun and it was just good times. So yeah, I'm excited. Well, I'm excited. I definitely got Awesome Con marked on my calendar for next year so I can hang out with you and all the BLERD Con family because I mean, it's awesome. Great show. I see somebody back there. Oh, baby.
Nala.
She's making a
Nala.
She's so
Nala.
tiny.
Oh,
How old is Nala?
well,
Nala is 10 weeks. Come on, Ango.
oh my God.
And what
Sebastian came
kind of
out.
dog is
I'm not
she?
talking to you.
I know Sebastian and Nala.
I'm not talking to you. I'm
She
not talking
is
to you.
a Rottweiler.
Yeah.
And
Oh, Nala's
She's
gonna be like,
rot.
yeah,
That's a
in
big girl.
in 2 months,
Yeah,
she's gonna be a whole nother animal.
Look at her. She's huge. She's
Oh
huge.
my
Look, Nala.
gosh. Hi, Nala. Hi.
Oh, they can't.
Hi. Look,
She
she's
can't
kind
hear
of
you.
looking at me. Hi, Nala,
Yeah.
Karan Ashley,
Oh my
George.
God.
Hi.
This one right here.
She never gets up on my lap, so she doesn't know what to do. She's like,
Oh,
I'm being
I
set up.
know.
I'm
She's
getting
like,
ready to get
but
in trouble. I don't know what's
look,
going on.
yeah, look at that
People.
face.
Yeah,
Oh,
well.
that face.
She's the cutest little chicken in the world. And she's full of chicken. So she don't know what to do with herself.
You're gonna have to have a
Yeah.
dog sitter for BLERDCon because you got like you disappear for a whole week. Like
I
Nala's
know.
gonna
I
be
know.
like,
Oh,
what the
she
Like,
heck?
coming to
yeah,
the, you know, she coming to BLERDCon.
She gonna be
some
like
She
way.
gonna
3
be
times the
outfitted.
size. She's gonna
She
be
gonna be
like
outfitted.
she's gonna be a horse
She's
by
gonna look like she's
July.
gonna look like a horse. She is such a
They
sweetie.
grow so fast.
But look, we might have to break into the program and take a pause so I can put her in the backyard because you got that post energy. I know, Daddy. Love
That's
Yeah.
good. You know, we
Yeah.
could do the
Yeah.
that's
We can
live.
edit.
That's real
We
life.
can edit around the baby. We can edit out around the baby.
Say
Oh my
hi to
gosh. So
everybody, Nala. With the big pause.
Bye.
All right,
hi,
here we
hi,
go.
hi.
Back to the
So
nerdy
Oh
cute.
stuff.
my goodness.
We
I
love
love
the
it. I
baby.
love it. Well, we had a really fun assignment this week. I mean, I enjoyed every minute of it. We watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is on Netflix. And let me tell you, I'm one of those people who I have never, I mean, obviously I've heard of The Last Airbender. I've seen some of the, original, animated series. I've seen other spinoffs. But I've never really just been in it. Like it's almost like One Piece when I saw it on Netflix. I know of it. I know of characters. I know of people, but I'm not in it. So for me, this was all new. And it was like my first experience and I actually loved it. But I was so shocked, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about it, because this show got so much pushback. It got so like it was like 50-50. Like people either loved the show or they were like pissed off at everything. Like it was just mind-boggling. But what I will say, it is successful enough to where Netflix has renewed it for the next 2 seasons. So it's not like, nobody was watching. It's been on the top 10 since it premiered. It's been well received by the masses because they definitely won't renew it. Netflix will quickly turn its back on you. There have been a ton of promotion. I've seen that cast everywhere. They've done everything. They've been on all the shows. So, they are really, really supporting this film. So, Hilton, were you an original fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender? Did you watch the original anime? So. Okay, I'm glad. I knew you would be. I was like, Hilton is our OG. He is going to be like, he knows all about it.
Anime expert for sure.
Yes. Well, it's funny because at Ranger Stop and Pop this year, we have Dante coming, who played Zuko, the original voice of Zuko. And then we have Jenny Kwan coming, who was Suka, the original Suki, the original voice of Suki. So it's like, we're really excited to have them. But it's like, I told Dante, I was like, I finally know about the show. I finally know. So what did you think? What was your first impression of the series? Because you are, you originally watched the series from the get-go.
Well, I knew they were going to do pretty much the same thing that they did with One Piece. I mean, there's, just this ton of chapters to watch on the animated series, right? But I know they weren't going to make, episode for episode what they want to do. So they had to find ways to streamline certain things, make more direct connections, so that it could all fit into this one chapter format. And they did a great job with that. I think that what people have trepidation about is that One Piece is different because there was a very narrow sector of the general population who watched any significant amount of One Piece, even among anime fans. So when
Right.
people were talking about, the anime versus the live action and the discrepancies and this, that, and the third, you're like 0.1% of the overall viewing population from the Netflix show watched any significant part of the anime. So it really wasn't a plurality.
Right.
This show was on Nickelodeon for years, and it's on
Right.
Netflix and has been on Netflix for at least a year. It has such a wide, broad-based non-anime following that we
Right.
all like want,
It's like
like
the
maybe four
crossover
out of
show,
five
right?
people. Yeah, 4 out of 5 people have seen at least one set of episodes of the show. So the same discrepancies that you had with the One Piece live action, you had some of those same ones, which were all deliberate decisions, deliberate
Mm-hmm.
script writing, casting, and things like that. It's just amplified because there's more people who were following
Right.
this animated show. That being said, I really, really, really love the way they told the story. They put
Yeah.
emphasis in certain chapters that wasn't in the animated show. They had realism. They had amazing scope and special effects. I wasn't too keen on the script.
Right.
I think maybe some of the banter and some of the in between dialogue
Hokey at
didn't
times.
quite capture like the animated series did.
Yeah.
Everything else I loved. I really felt like it captured the key moments. I think it's a great gateway drug for anyone who hasn't watched the animated series to buy in, have a good time, get introduced to it, and perhaps go and watch the show on the animated series, which I think is still on Netflix in the same way Netflix did with One Piece. It's a
Yeah.
fantastic show. It's got amazing scope. It's got amazing world building. And I think that they have done a really, really good job. I'll give it a solid 8.5 out of 10 for this first
Okay.
chapter. And I think it's only going to get better. I think they kind of got their sea legs and they took some
Mm.
bold moves and did a lot
Yeah.
of fan service. And I think this next chapter, I think they're going to be like, okay, we kind of know what our groove is. We know where to improve. And I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Okay. So, Christy, I'm interested in knowing what you thought. Because, Christy, okay, when we were in Seattle, I was like, I'm enjoying it. She was like, she
Meh,
was like, eh.
meh.
And I go, no, keep watching. Because I think the more you watch, the more it pulls you in. And so, what was the overall, like, you watch the series now? What did you think? And be
So,
brutally
so
honest.
okay, because I will. I'm gonna get to the piece, and y'all know you ought to know what's coming. Because I can't be the only one with my naked eye to look at certain things, or even with my ear, my raw hearing, and hear certain things. First, I will say it is beautifully done. I think again, I agree with you, Hilton. It's a beautiful the visuals, the optics, set wise, action wise. I thought it's really good. I wrote down one of my favorite scene, I mean, just some of the fight things that were going on. I love when Ong and Zuko have their moment to
Yeah.
battle a little
Aang.
bit. And yeah, I don't know why I'm determined to call that baby Ong because
Blame
of
M. Night
but
Shyamalan because
because
he's the
of
first one to call him
I
on. And it's
know, and I
Yeah.
think that's what messed me up because that double
Yeah.
A, and it was because I did watch that version of
Yeah. Yeah.
the show, the movie. So anyway, so Aang, um, I was not a fan of the writing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I struggled. I struggled with the casting. The elders I noticed seemed more authentic to the Asian and indigenous cultures that this whole story is rooted in.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I felt like a lot of it was sorry, guys, not sorry. It was whitewashed to me. I felt like there
Mm.
was not enough.
Yeah.
There are there are there are ranges of color. Like even when I talk to my kids, because they love anime, so they're the ones that get me really up to speed.
Yeah.
But I remember my kids watching the cartoon as kids. And
Yeah.
so that's how I got a taste of it first. And then when the movie came out, we saw the movie. But in looking at even the cartoon characters, which apparently this is supposed to be really heavily back to the roots, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I was a little disappointed because even in the cartoon, like you see color range, and I just didn't get
Mm-hmm.
that. And then I also felt like everybody spoke as if they were from, Northern California. I don't know. It was just I feel like, we watch shows that are rooted in cultures and they
Yeah.
do so well. I mean, we can talk about now ad nauseum. Um,
Mm-hmm.
this should have been another show or another opportunity to take full advantage of being really rooted in cultural roots. And I just feel like it fell flat for me, in that
Mm-hmm.
regard. I agree, I didn't like the extra banter. There were some things said in between, and again, that's where I felt like I'm just looking at a bunch of kids from LA. No offense, LA, I'm just saying. I just know that
Mm-hmm.
that's not where they supposed to be. So it messed with me visually and just listening, linguistically, all of that. It just, that's it. That's an aesthetic. It's part of the big picture. And I
Yeah.
struggled with that. But I will say I enjoy the themes. I love a good, storyline with themes and, a progressive story. And then there's all this back work. I love the character development and arc
Mm-hmm.
for Zuko. So we'll get into that. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I struggled. I struggled.
Okay.
I
Okay.
got through it, but I struggled.
Can I,
Okay.
I'll, let me
How do
let
you
me
feel about that? Because I kind of disagree a little bit, but go
Well,
ahead.
I have to understand. I have to remember that not everybody like was religious. Like I can honestly say I've watched the animated series back to front at least 4 times. I love it that much,
Oh,
and
that's
so I
great.
understand the cultural piece of it because the Air Kingdom, the Air Nomads were kind of molded after Buddhists, and a lot of them tended to have the Buddhist ethnicity in their eyes and in their culture. And they captured a lot of that in the costuming, and a lot of that in some of the traditions and meditation. The Fire Nation, in the animated series, was a little bit more toward Middle Eastern, South Asian, Indian
Mm-hmm.
kind of look. And then obviously the Earth Kingdoms were Asian, very very the Ba Sing Se, they were actual Asian names and going from there. But they did do a little bit more of a mix with this, and
Mm-hmm.
made some choices that I it wasn't enough to take me out of the story because in part, everybody wasn't like super cultural. So, for instance, our girl and oh my gosh,
Which one? What
the
character?
no, no, no. I'm just thinking that the Southern Water Tribe had a little bit less of that indigenous Eskimo
Right.
feel than the Northern
Katara.
Water
Yeah.
Tribe, right?
Right.
And so
Soka.
and Soka, and so it didn't
Soka's
really, yeah, it didn't
completely
really
white.
bother me too much because I never really felt like Sokka had like much of an ethnic spin on him as a character,
Mm-hmm.
and so that didn't really take me out. But I do think that they switched some things up. So the Fire Nation is Asian, and that's a switch. And then the King Boomy, he looked a little Middle Eastern, where in the series, he was not. So there was some switch ups in there, but I think it was a broad enough cast to kind of cover
Yeah.
the spread. But
Yeah.
to Christie's point, it wasn't as ethnic as the movie, all right? And
Right.
I think they made
Right.
very deliberate choices with the movie to reflect, what was in the series. But it didn't take me out of it, and I don't think it's going to take the average person out. But
Yeah.
I do think that the script, was not as dynamic. The dialogue was not as,
Yeah.
Sokka wasn't zany. Sokka is a very zany, over the top
Yeah.
character, and they have not found a way to write a live action, Sokka
Yeah.
that is that constant, off the wall character. And this was another deliberate choice. The kids were age correct.
Right.
Aang was actually like 12, 13 years old. His
Mm-hmm.
actor was that. And I got to remember, like, okay, everyone who is to play Aang, he's martial arts. He's obviously a martial artist, and
Mm-hmm.
he's ethnic. He's kind of
Mm-hmm.
Asian, whatever. How many actors are 13 or 12 out in Hollywood that are available and can play this role and can act and know martial arts are there? That's a very thin pool for the
Yeah.
casting of Aang. So while I'm like, maybe he's not as epic as he could have been, but at the same time, it's Hollywood. Live action, you can't draw these
Right.
people. They are who they are. So
Right.
yeah.
Right. Well, just so you know, Justice Sokka, the gentleman who plays Sokka, he's actually of mixed race. He's from the Cherokee tribe, and he's also American. Just so we put that out there. And then Aang, it was one of those things where I wasn't. It didn't, like you said, it didn't bother me. It didn't take me out of it because there were so many cultural things that were there and they stayed true to, and they made sure to honor respect. Right. So I felt like, if you think about it, like one thing I love is that, if you think about if you're modernizing a new, like I felt like this version modernized, but if you think about the American, if you have a lot of people who are from Asian descent, from it's almost like they reminded me of a lot of the Asian kids that I know. Like I have friends like Johnny Bosch, my friend who's a voice actor, even Dante. Like Dante's from the Philippines, he's Filipino. He doesn't necessarily, like, it's just I felt like I kind of liked the fact that there were so many different Asian, like it almost gave it more dynamic. Like it's almost like black people. Like black people aren't just one color. We come in a rainbow array of colors, and that is what black culture is. It's one of those things. So for me, it didn't feel whitewashed. I mean, the only thing that like you said, the script, like the little dialogue and like the teenagery things they tried to add in there, like I felt it was forced. Like I felt like they were trying to make it so like relevant, like this is what the kids say, when it should have been, you know what I'm saying? Like that was the stuff that bothered me, because I was like, it's corny. And I do believe like a couple of the actors,
I wrote that.
It was corny, right?
On my list. I was like, there's a little corniness going.
There was like a little corniness. And so it was one of those things where I felt like, I felt like if they would have had, like you said, if they would have had an actor who was more comedic, where he had roots in comedy or something, because there are kids that are funny like that, it really would have sold it. It really, but the guy who played Zuko, oh my gosh, I loved him.
Yeah.
I loved Aang. I loved Aang's innocence. Like that look on his face, I believed all of that. So I felt like there were, it was such a, and I really love like Katara in the beginning. I was like, where are they, what's happening with her? But I mean, she really sold it, of just trying to find her skills and trying to find her voice and living up to what, her destiny was. And I really loved her, especially at the end when she was, crying out to Aang and was like, come back to us, I don't know. I felt like the things that I could have been upset about didn't upset me, because then something else would happen and I loved it,
Well,
and
you know what it is? I think that, and I said this in a side conversation I had this weekend with some other fans, is that they threw in enough fan service to hit you in the feels from the animated series, that by the time I started getting stuck on something that wasn't where I wanted it to be, the fan service would come in and like the guy who played Commander Zhao. Amazing actor.
Yes.
Ate every scene. Like, I mean, just probably the most talented actor on the screen at any point in the 8 episodes. And we've seen him in the HBO series Industry. He's been in a lot of stuff. He even goes back to Rush Hour. Remember, he was playing Juntao's assistant.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so he's like a martial artist, a stunt person.
He was in Lost.
Leaned into his. He's just been that guy in the background, like the assistant, like what do you call it, the supporting actor that we all know, but we might not know his name.
Yeah,
and he chewed up that scene every time he showed up, and I was just like, a character that I liked in the animated series. I didn't like him in the movie that everyone hated. But this one, I was like, I hope he didn't die.
We have to say that
he's more menacing. He's more menacing and conniving than the Fire Lord. I was like, and he was great too. But
he is good.
And the brother who plays Uncle Iroh.
Uncle, we love Unc. We love
Polly.
You see him in what was the other one? The Book of Boba
Gosh,
Fett.
he's been in everything.
He
Yeah,
has been
he's
a little bit
in.
everywhere. So he was excellent casting as well. And like I said, they were faithful enough to the source material that the story kind of overtook and made the series better than the sum of its parts. Because I agree with like 99% of what Christy said. I was just like, yeah. And then I was like, but the math ain't mathing to like how I feel about it. Like, like this should put it at a solid 5.5, right?
Right.
Just like I got my Northern Water Tribe water kaiju, which was a huge season closer or chapter closer for the animated series, and they skipped it in the movie. I was so mad. It's like I want my water kaiju to just, and it was perfect. So it had those scenes in it that I like, and I think now that we're gonna get Toph for season 2, which is like she's a killer character. They cast her right, it's a wrap.
It's over, right?
Man, so yeah, I think that's what it is.
I'll say this for me, for the people that know me, and my perspective on all of this is me coming in not having watched every single episode of an animated series.
Me too.
I did see the film that everyone hates. I know we have to put that. I feel so badly for that, but
they spent a lot of money on that picture everybody hates.
Yeah, I feel like that's the consensus. The consensus is okay, boo on that. But I'm not clueless to it. But again, with just my my regular self showed up and sat down and watched. Those are the things, but I do have pieces that I enjoy about it. So it's a good watch. I mean, just to be watching, but you know me, I feel like I'm always gonna go for the.
We should go for the culture. Like we really I mean, that's the thing. Like, like you think about like when we watched Echo or when we watched Black Panther or when we watched, I mean, it's like we literally were like, the culture. Like that was the first thing we said before we said anything else. It was such a tribute to the people. So I agree. I agree with that. I mean,
let me do a comparison real quickly, just to just to back up this point. If I'm watching something and I think of the era, like this is ancient time, right? This is like forever ago. Right? Am I crazy for thinking that?
It's another world, but it's cast in that ancient.
In that, it gives you that feel. I mean, there's no electronics or anything like that, so I don't feel it's not today. But so it is prior to westernization, colonization, assimilation. So when we think about the course of time and I get it, if it's another world and I just need to sit back and be like, okay,
it is another world.
Everything ain't always about the black. Yeah, well, I live I stay true to that space for a reason. However, I get that, so I respect that. I forget that it is otherworldly. So maybe that's where I need to just be like, okay. But when I compare though, when I look at those cartoons, I see some darker shades going on, and I just know that they're out there. So that's my 2 cents.
I do. Well, I will Karen, say that
No, I was going to say the universal. I don't want to say critique, but people were saying it should have been 12 episodes and not 8. Because they could have fleshed out things, put a little bit more background for the people who are just getting introduced to the franchise. And I agree, but then again, I'm thinking, well, they probably had budgetary constraints and they probably were caught up in the writer's strike.
Netflix is giving Wednesday and Stranger Things 8 to 9 episodes. They're not going to give this new series. Like, this is what Netflix does.
It was never going to happen. Don't wish for it. Don't cry for it.
Doing that. They're giving 10 at the top.
Exactly. Exactly.
This is TV today. You got to figure it out.
But what I really like is that it was dark enough that it had that air of seriousness. Just like the animated series, you're watching an animated series that is as serious as an anime, but it's kind of it's an American cartoon animated series. It's on Nickelodeon. And you're talking about genocide, and you're talking about war, and you're talking about succession and destinies and all these things. Everything is at stake all the time. And how do these characters manage to be both entertaining and go on their side quests and all this sort of thing. but they maintained that, and I think it was a very easy thing that could have gone to the side if they were just like, let's just get through this. The one thing that was missing from the movie that was a glaring error is that you didn't have Kyoshi Island, and you didn't have the scene where he's communing with Avatar Kyoshi.
That was incredible.
And Avatar Kyoshi is like, she was so well written in this series that it was even better than the animated series, because he comes
to her up again,
and she's just like, like, what the fuck took you so long? Like, what are you doing? She's like, I don't know what to do. She's like, stop crying like a bitch. Like,
right, you're the Avatar.
Like,
you're supposed to.
Like,
why are you worried about all this other stuff? Like,
you're supposed to be.
And she was taking her time explaining. I'm like, Lord, the baby is in a trance, and everything is falling apart. And she is taking her merry time.
I'm gonna show you how. Let me show you how Kyoshi do it.
Show you.
Then threw them people all over the place, and I was like, that's the Kyoshi. And
that was one of my. That's on my notes too. The Kyoshi scene when she shows up and she's in him, and then it's him, and I'm like, oh, that was really good.
Yeah,
that was really good.
I love.
She said, let me show you what it looked like.
That was really beautifully shot. You know, one thing I loved. One of my favorite things about this series was just because, like, the minute I saw Zuko, he was obviously one of my favorite characters, but I was like, why is he so mad? Like, why is he so angry? Like, it was just
over the top a little bit.
But it was very over the top in the beginning, but they really seeded it, and they really uncovered, like, peeled it back like an onion, because, like, you really didn't get the full story until, like, episode 7, 8. Like, you got a little each way. But it's like you understood, like, you understood why he was so determined, and why he was so mad, and why he was so resentful, and why he was like, he didn't even know how to be nice to his own people, like his people on his team.
One time.
And the actor, and that actor did really well. He did it was such a great arc for a character to where you hated him in the beginning, you really started to feel for him, then you understood him, and then you were almost like rooting that he would like find that what did he say, find the compassion. Like, it's like you were hoping he would find that in his heart, and then you were heartbroken for him at the end when you realized his father was just playing games with him and his sister. Like, he literally was creating monsters for the fun of it. Like, it wasn't even a matter of power. It wasn't even, obviously it had to do with power, but it was like he was almost playing this game in this war with his own family. And you had the uncle who was like treating him like a son, and really was like, how does my brother not value the fact that he has his son? I don't have my son. Like, how, like, it was such a great arc. Like, it was beautiful for him. That was my favorite thing.
If you watch the animated series, like, I cried, in the animated series, because they have a whole episode that kind of centers on and reveals that Uncle Iroh lost his son at the siege of Ba Sing Se, and that it was his greatest failure, greatest acolyte, or whatever you want to call it, and what that moment actually meant to him, and why he always bristles when they call him the Dragon of the North, and all of this stuff, because, like, all of that, he was actually the one next in line to be Fire Lord, and renounced his claim, and he didn't know why. And they portrayed it in a different way here, but they made it very clear, and did so in such a way that showed the bond between him and Zuko. Like, it showed, like, how in the absence of a real father, as the Fire Lord was not, Iroh came in to be that father figure when he didn't have one, and is there to guide his path along that way. And like I said, it's one of the most powerful parts of the arc of his character and his character's arc in the series. And I'm so glad that they really zeroed in on it. But they also added some things that were new. This whole thing with the 42nd Brigade that started this whole thing in the first place. And, the members of the brigade who were his men on this quest, not understanding, like, that he cared for them or that he gave a shit. And to have them say, well, the whole reason why he got burned and why he got exiled was because he spoke up, because they were going to sacrifice the 42nd Regiment. He's like, wait a minute, we're the 42nd Regiment. And you're alive. So before you say he don't care, before you say he don't give a damn, let you know that the scar he got on his face the burden he's got and the chip he's got on his shoulder came because he stood up
Right.
for
He
y'all.
can't even go home.
And when they came in and
For
locked up,
standing up.
when he came back on the boat, I was like, oh Lord,
Yes.
and that wasn't in the series. That was a
Okay.
whole new addition. So I love that they were thoughtful enough to say we have to make changes because we're going to 8 episodes, but we're
Yeah.
going to make those changes in such a way that adds value to the story. And I think that's the kind of thing when I talk about how the story picked up, where the individual components might have fallen a little bit short. Those like emotional things for me were like, oh my God, like to add that dimension of it to a character that didn't have it in the first like 2 or 3, chapters of the series in the animated version. Like, man, they're really trying to add some adult heft to this, and they were successful in that.
That's cool. So, Christi, what was one of your favorite things about the series? Because I know you said you had notes. Christi wrote notes. She got
red pen.
She got all the notes. We can't see because of the glare. Okay, I kind of can see it. Okay. So, yeah, great. I love it.
So first, I have to, we talked about the optics and the visuals, and I get sucked in by the cinematic glory and things like this.
Yeah, it's beautiful to look at.
And I have to say, the creatures that showed up in this story along the way. Of course, you've got the giant flying bison, which I thought, oh my God, that's so never-ending story. It just put me in that mind. I loved it. It was good. The owl, massive, looked amazing. I love special effects, and when they create these things that are rooted in reality, but then they just put these twists on them. The spirit monster. I said at first it was 2 things in here. I was
not
like,
the monster.
The monster. I know Karan Ashley is running, honey, somewhere, because when that dang centipede showed up, it messed with me. It messed with me. It was in. I was like, oh, I was a little disturbed.
Yeah, it was dark. It was creepy.
That was very creepy. Very creepy, but very nicely done. I thought a really good touch. It was, that was good. So that was fun for me. I liked watching those moments. And what and I mentioned this earlier, a lot of theme dropping, a lot of messages in this, and they had these one-liners, because again, the whole time, Aang keeps saying, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to do this. I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, bless his little heart. He was so confused. But that gave, that opened the conversation for these strange, unsuspecting mentors along the way to really, really teach him, well, here's what you're doing, and this is why you're doing it, and this is how you're doing it. So I thought in the very beginning, I thought something powerful was said about the real power of the Avatar. And I think it was Katara says it, is that his connection to people. And then we see the friendship. And that, I think that was the first moment when he's begging Zuko and his uncle to, and I noticed him when they're in that carriage and he's got him bound in the back of the thing, the wagon, and the uncle never turns around, but only Zuko is really responding, because it's like the uncle already knows, like, you're about to learn so much. He's trying to teach his nephew.
And he's got to let him learn, right?
Yes, he's got to let him, but he's also learning from the same source that he's like chasing after, and he's just going to have to learn humanity. And then the whole compassion conversation starts, with that. Yeah. But he's talking about his friend. So they really touch a lot on the friendship element. But love equals light. A couple of things. Pain is, it changes you. One of them says pain changes you. Oh, because when the thing was chasing them, the beaver mole, the mole, what was it called? The tunnel.
Yeah, mole. I don't know what it was called.
That one.
Yes.
Something more. and they held hands. Like those are great moments, I think. And again, I forget this is done by Nickelodeon in association with, so it's good because it's for the children. They also deal with something strong like gender bias. I mean, when the waterbender man was telling her, Katara,
you're great, but you're not going to fight.
Women are not strong enough. I was like, he just said it. He said the words. He said the whole line. Women are not strong enough. Whoa. So, I mean, just dealing with that and watching her have to battle that. Because I'm with you, Karen, when at the beginning I was thinking, she's cute, but what's happening? Like she said, she was very sweet. And then I'm
Yeah.
like, where's her struggle coming in? And then boom, it was there in like episode 5 or so,
Yeah.
or whichever way. It was midway through. And when he said that to her face, I thought, okay, come on,
Yeah.
concept, themes, and issues and
Yeah.
struggles.
And we didn't even
Well,
see that coming in the series. So like in the animated
right.
series, it was like that's a big issue to just throw into a Nickelodeon animated series out of nowhere. Be like gender bias. Like, hold on, I thought the target age
Yeah,
group for this was like 15, and I was all along
Right.
for the ride. You know, you go to Small World with your nephews, and you be like,
Yes.
I got to get on
You
this.
be
Like,
enjoying it more than they
yay!
are.
Like, so I was kind of like approaching it that way. But like again, this was the first chapter. So a lot of people, even the ones who saw the animated series, it was the same type of shock. And I was like, I'm glad they kept it in there because it wasn't in the
Yeah.
movie. And it was important. It was like, this is what will define who she is. The fact that someone is underestimating her and doesn't believe that she can do it and is telling her not to. Even Sokka's like, all right, we're going home. She's like, yo, we got a mission to save the world. What are
the
you talking about?
world.
Like,
What
what are you
home? What are you
talking about?
like, dude? Get on the
Well,
bison.
This
Let's
is
go.
bigger than both of us. Yeah.
Yo. And the sense of loss because there were actual death of
Yeah.
kids, young people
Yeah.
who are dying at this war. So the stakes are
Yeah.
are not lost on the story, and it just
Mhm.
really just adds that weight to it. And so when you have the struggle that Aang is having, again, you're like he's 12 and he's been asleep for
Right.
100 years. He doesn't recognize this world, but he has this well of awareness from all of his previous incarnations going back millennia that he can technically tap into at any time if he.
Mm-hmm.
And so he has this wisdom without knowledge or experience. And that's what you're seeing manifest in a 12-year-old who's like, I don't want to be the avatar. I'm not that important. I'm just going to get everybody killed or get everybody hurt. Let me just go
Yeah.
off and, whatever.
An
And it
adult
just
would
really
feel that
pushes
way.
that. An adult would feel that way. Like it really
Like,
is a conflict.
yeah. You know what I did really like though? I thought, wow, this series has been done. Like it was, when did it first premiere? It was like, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, this was like
Yeah.
2006, 2005.
Yeah. But think about it, even then, like the things they're talking about in this series is so relevant. Like,
Mhm.
Fire King, like the Fire Lord really reminds me of a certain political group who wants to keep
Mhm.
people divided, who thinks we will, even though they know like we have to conquer, we have to do this, and like justifying their violence and
Mhm.
justifying keeping people divided and justifying, just wanting to be powerful and saying, even going so far as they know, like all these ants, all the noblemen or whatever, when Aang goes in and he goes, y'all are supposed to be noble, you're supposed to be
Yeah.
neutral. And they're like, no, he's our God now. And it's like, whoa, like the brainwashing of the cult. Like it was so, I thought that was very timely. And I love that they
People
kept it in
forget.
there. Yeah.
People forget that the Fire Nation actually is more of a metaphor for America than anything else.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
it's like there's so many parallels. Like we go to war to
Yeah.
make peace. If we just take over the world, there won't be any war. We can bring them technology and we can bring them all the benefits, but then all you end up doing is killing and genocide and all
Yeah.
that.
So dystopian. I
Like
love.
you're
I do
killing
love that.
children. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do love that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was that was one thing that I was like, I was happy that they put in there and like they kept it true. Like there was no denying who the Fire Nation was. Like there's no denying the fear that they were, their spies and everything they did, the way that they worked, the way that they, moved. And another thing that I thought was, really cool is at the end, obviously they won the battle, but they didn't win. Like it wasn't a victory. Like it was so much loss, so much carnage, so much destruction. They didn't succumb to the Fire Nation, but they so it was like there was really no need to celebrate when they knew like so many people had, so many young people lost their lives. And I thought, what a powerful statement,
And the chief's daughter, was
yeah.
sacrificed. I mean, they literally killed the moon spirit and
Mm,
had to be replaced, at the
yeah.
sacrifice of the daughter of the chief. And so you even have that loss. And it's just like, they destroyed most of the Northern Water Kingdom, and you had so much death, so much loss.
Yeah.
And like, how do you even go forward from that? Like, they went about it the right way because they had more resolve, that this was serious, because this will not stop here. And
Yeah.
having seen it firsthand, we know we need to stick together and make it work. And there you go into chapter 2. That's a great segue. But
Mhm.
yeah, they kept it serious. They did not. That was not a victory that you would want.
Yeah. So what was your I don't want to say least favorite, but I
We
mean,
talked about that.
Yeah, okay, we talked about that. Okay, so was there a character, because like I love Zuko. That was my jam. Was there a favorite character any of you had that you were like, I can't wait to see what happens. I can't wait to see where it goes. I mean, Hilton, you mentioned somebody who's coming into season 2. Give me your favorites as far as like people you really enjoyed their performance. Either one of you.
It has
Let
to
Hilton go
be.
first.
It has to be Commander Zhao.
Yeah.
He was. I mean, you have to remember, the Fire Lord didn't even show his face until the final chapter of the animated series. He was so
Right.
far back. He was like the Emperor in
Wow.
the Star Wars original trilogy. He was
Mhm.
there, but he wasn't like the one moving around. Commander Zhao was an excellent, villain to have, moving around and making moves and being in the scenes and chewing up the screen and everything to move it forward. Because if he hadn't been there or hadn't been as good as he
Yeah.
was, none of the story would have really caught on. I mean, the
Right.
whole battle at the Northern Water Tribe would not have happened, at least, or wouldn't have had the weight. His relationship and the conniving and backstabbing of Prince Zuko, the assassination attempt, all of those things. They put so much of that content in, and they couldn't have done it if they didn't have an actor to carry the role, to carry
Yeah.
the weight, to make us believe it and make us invested. So he
Yeah.
definitely takes the series for me, second only to my man playing Uncle Iroh. But
Yeah.
those two, without them, we
Those
don't have a
three,
series.
yeah. They kind of
Yeah.
saved the series. Yeah. So Christy, what
I
about
agree.
you?
I agree.
Okay.
I also want to make a interesting comparison to the Fire Lord. I love his
Heck.
what?
What'd you say?
Remember, he took his shirt off. Everybody was like, "Ooh,
Yeah.
Fire Lord."
Oh, he is
I'm
Yeah,
snitching on the
Daniel.
Avatar girl. I
Yeah.
know
Isn't
exactly
it
where he
Daniel
is.
Kim? He is
He still got it.
he got it. He got it.
Honorary mention.
It reminds me, just that whole character.
It did not
though.
go unnoticed, just by the way.
No,
It
it
did not
didn't.
go
It
unnoticed. We
was.
didn't bring it up yet, but it didn't go unnoticed. So we got eyes. Sorry, Christy, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I'm good. No, that's a good point. We don't want to miss that.
We didn't.
But him, just his character in particular, it reminded me so much of Curse of the Golden Flower, which I just to this day is one of my favorite films. And that whole pitting against, I just thought he was very sinister in his thinking and his maneuvering, and I thought that was interesting. And again, this is an honorable mention. So I want to see Aang as a character. And I know the more he embraces his role and all of that, I want some of that, some depth to come. Like he's very, and I just, I want him to go to
He's very
alto.
much a baby.
I just
right?
want an alto. I don't want him to be a baritone. I need
Well,
a
he
little
grows
alto
up.
range.
He grows up through the animated series. So I'm
That's what I'm looking
imagining
forward to.
by the time we get, by the time they start shooting, probably next year, or like this kid's gonna grow up, and so they're probably, we may get some of that, because if he's 12 now, and let's say he's 13, 14, that's a different kid. Like kids need like changing
puberty,
in section.
Not just puberty, but more time spent with an acting coach. I think he will be not just older.
I think he's adorable.
Being comfortable.
Absolutely. I think he's a great physical choice. I think this might be his first acting gig.
Yeah.
But I
Really?
think I can't find anything that he's been in on screen before.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
I think in a year, when the next series comes out, he's already, if you've seen him, the actor on social media, he's already like almost looks like a teenager now with hair and everything. So I agree. We're gonna get the development in the character, but I think that he's gonna have more time to hone his craft as an actor, and he's gonna be better. And I hope that takes place with all the characters. Again, they're all age appropriate. You know, they're all under, like, I think except for Sokka, are under 15. So they got tons of time, tons of potential. And if they get a year or two, or if this becomes a 4-part series, we're going to see them go all the way up. So but it'd be like the Stranger Things,
right.
you know,
Right, Lord, they
right?
fully grown.
They
They
are
fully
women and
married
men,
with
like,
kids, paying taxes.
you know.
I did like I will say, I wasn't a big fan of Sokka, but but I liked the scene with him and when they're in Kyoshi Warrior Girl. Golly, I can't remember her name. There's so many names. Oh, I did write it down. Who? What's her name?
Suki.
Yeah, that one. Suki. Yes, she was fierce.
Suki.
She was a badass.
She was great.
I enjoyed that. I wanted her to keep the makeup on because, again, then when she took it off, I was like, "Girl, what is you?" I'm sorry. That was just me watching by myself. And they kept her a little awkward, which I thought, that gave the humanness of that character. So again, that's another character that I liked. She was awkward, even though she was fierce. She just still had to learn, wait, what is happening here? But when they do that, when she's teaching him that was a nice touch.
That was one of the things that people were mad at. They were like, Suki had such a bigger role in the animated series, and so they were mad that it got cut so small, like it was just one episode. So I don't know if there's room for her to come back, in season 2, or if that was kind of, they met her, I don't know the original series that well to know if there's room for her to come back.
She'll be back.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. I thought I was
this
like,
is an introduction. She'll be back. She's
Yeah.
going to be a big part of the series. So you'll see.
Good, because the Kyoshi goddess
like
person,
it was
she
so
got to come
amazing.
back. She has to come back.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so overall, I know Hilton said 8.5 out of 10. I actually was thinking myself, it was about an 8 for me. Christy, where did you rank it? How many bops do you give it?
I'm gonna do 7.879.
Oh, okay. 7.8.
Look, that's high praise from Christi Renee.
Yeah.
You'll hold back 5 bops just on GP.
Just on Mixed Race. Like she wants a non-colonized cast.
Listen.
She wants
y'all. That's why I said y'all already know I'm here. Here I come. I come.
Well, what I hope happens with this is the same thing that we saw happen with One Piece. You see these people who are introduced to these characters for the first time, in a series that's live action, and then say, hey, let me just see what happens with chapter 1, Water, in the animated series to compare. Because I'm invested, I meet the characters, whatever. They did the same thing with One Piece, so I'm hoping they do it with this, because to be quite honest, Avatar: The Last Airbender is the greatest series, non-anime, but animated storytelling that has happened in the last 40 years. Yeah. And while it's on Nickelodeon and while it was marketed definitely to kids, shockingly enough, when it first came out, those kids are adults now, and the adults are recognizing just how great it is. So if you do have a chance to see it, if you do have Netflix and you just want to check it out, especially if you've already seen the live action, it is so worth it. And it's richer storytelling because they've got like 75 episodes to go.
Yeah.
And it's really, really well done. There's very few flaws in the anime.
Yeah. Guys, it's been fun. I it's one of those things that I enjoyed. Avatar: The Last Airbender. It wasn't perfect, but I think Netflix is going to listen to all of the things that were said. Like, there were a lot of things. I think they got more pushback than they thought. I think they've definitely got more pushback than they thought. So they will definitely, hopefully, listen. And season 2 and 3 are definitely going to happen, and it's going to be exciting.
Star Wars was great, but The Empire Strikes Back was the greatest sequel of any series in history.
Yeah.
Because all that was wrong with 1, you got right in 2.
You got it.
So keep it rolling.
Yeah, it's one of those things where that is the model. Like, that is the model of how you can either fix something or you can just it could just be all bad. Yeah, because season 2s are hard, especially when you have a blow up hit. Like, season 2s are hard. But anywho, So what's next, guys? What city can they find you in? I know my next show, I'm going to Indiana Comic-Con. I will be there. Hilton, you got anything on the calendar you gonna be at soon?
I am actually chilling for travel. I am not going to be out and about. I will be at MomoCon for sure.
Yes.
And I might pop up at a few local events around DC, but the planning for BLERDCon is coming up, so I'm gonna take this time. And then I got the little one who's not so little anymore to take care of. Who's full of chicken and looks like she just got hit by a truck. She just knocked out over here.
We put her to sleep.
Look, I can do this for you. I can do this for you. Like
yes,
like,
please.
Yeah.
Look at that.
That's good.
Dreaming, kicking the legs and everything. Oblivious to everything.
Oh my goodness. Hilton is a dad. Hilton is a
congratulations.
Dad. A dog dad. Oh,
by the time y'all see it, she's gonna be big as me. So
you growing up,
absorb
Hilton?
it now.
You are growing up.
Look at you.
Well, it's funny. My family I don't have any kids, so my family are treating this like kid. I got like stuff coming in the mail, and
oh my God, y'all need a
pearl
shower.
necklaces, and like where's the doggy shower? I'm like,
you need to have a sip and see, so we can come sip and we come see your baby.
Come knock the couch over. She is too happy to meet people. So as soon as she's potty trained and ain't pooping or peeing on the floor, she'll come to a con with me.
See, that's why that's why I can't have no animals, because that's the part I'm like, you mean I gotta walk them every day? I gotta take them out every day?
Like every 47 minutes. I'm telling you, when they get when baby girl give me that look, she'll be laid out sleeping, and she stand up and do this. She's
it's time to go.
You get in the door.
But at least she's giving the look. She's already learning. Like, I can't do that in here.
Get the bell on the door, and then get the conversation buttons. You can get the dogs and they'll communicate with you. Now she might cuss you out, but it's fun. I mean, that would be a whole piece. That's a whole show. Yes.
Yeah.
Terrible food.
My favorite ones are bitch. I'm like, this dog is furious with you.
It's like a parrot. You can't be playing games with teaching a parrot words, because you can't unteach.
Yeah,
you can't unteach it.
You start learning to hit them buttons.
Real kids too. Real kids say bad words. Yeah. I know my little 3-year-old niece already saying bad words. She caught these hands last time I saw her.
I
was like, she had to get it. She was like sweet as can be, but honey, she had that little mouth. I was blown away by what she said.
What's your pearls? Like, oh my Lord.
Pearls were clutch. We were like,
she broke the pearls.
She stood on business too. She was like, and what?
These kids don't care about whippings. My little nephew, his legs get lit up, he won't even cry. He just be like,
no.
Like, hold up. What are you looking like Denzel and Glory? Hold up. Without the tear.
I cannot.
Like, hold up.
Yes.
You're supposed to be running for your life.
No.
20-pound self.
They're different. They're different. It's the hormones or something in this McDonald's or something. Whatever is in the water these days. Them kids are different.
He said the preservatives in the McDonald's got them taking whipping.
I don't know what did it, but kids are different. Like, we were like,
they feel different.
Consequences. Like, I was like, I didn't want my mama to look at me bad. I'd be like, and like, no, they're different. They don't care.
That's why I ain't never been caught with drugs. Ain't never done no crime. I was always more scared of my parents than the cops or ridicule or any of that. My daddy said, don't get in the car with you. I can't go to your house. You can't come to my house. Don't call my house. Yeah. These are the rules. I don't make the rules.
How it goes.
I don't pay rent. This is what has been dictated.
It's what it is.
I'll see you at the locker in between class. And
that's it.
Because I'm not getting beat for you. It's not happening.
No. I ain't seeing my life flash before my eyes. No.
Yeah, we were different.
Yeah.
Oh no, Christi, you ain't have to do that countdown. Didn't I tell you not to? Hold on. Why I'm getting every syllable?
the rhythm of it. No. We had that though. We had it.
Yeah.
It was a different time.
Different time. Well, on that note, guys, thank you for watching the BOP, the BLERD official podcast. We love you. We mean it. Tune in every Tuesday to catch us talking and giving our unsolicited opinions about everything nerdy. We love you. Bye.
Tune in every Tuesday for a new episode of the BOP, the BLERD Official Podcast.